Well, perhaps the biggest football occasion the city of Newcastle has ever seen. One of the cradles of the game here in Australia. Tonight hosts the Socceroos as they take on the UAE for a place in the Asian Cup final. South Korea booking their spot last night after defeating Iraq. And most here believe the final will be against the home country. But the UAE have already knocked out the holders in Japan. Now for the hosts in regional New South Wales. Australia against the United Arab Emirates then. The second semi-final of the 2015 AFC Asian Cup. Well, it's been 20 years since Australia last played an international here. The weather is not particularly brilliant, damp and grey, but the earlier heavy rain has at least passed. Current temperatures 18 degrees. Australia then through to the semi-final, just the one blemish in their run to the last four, that in the group stage. They beat China, of course, and the UAE overcoming Japan, the big shock of the quarter-finals.
And one game away from the final of the AFC Asian Cup. How's the mood within the camp?
Yeah, it's been good. We got here a few days ago and everyone's fit and well, and we settled in really well here in Newcastle, so looking forward to it.
And a few words on your opponent. They've came past the defending champions already. What you're expecting for them tonight?
Oh, look, it's a semi-final of a major tournament. It's going to be a tough game regardless of who the opponent is. They've obviously done well to get to this far, and as have we. So from our perspective, just about continuing to progress on our performances and hopefully get the right result.
And we've already said one game away from the final. Have you let yourself dream about playing that final on home soil, or is it still all about tonight?
No, it has to be about tonight. I mean, as you said before, if you take your eye off the ball, and you'll get knocked off like other teams have and other countries have. So, no, it's been all about tonight, and we're well prepared, we're ready to go.
All the best. Thank you. One game away from the final of the AFC Asian Cup. How are you and the team feeling?
We are feeling great for this game. We are very motivated to play this game and to achieve our dream. We prepare the team, and we think that we have put the best player in this game. We hope that the game goes as we wish.
Beat Japan in the last round, now you have the hosts. What are you expecting from Australia today?
I think it will be a very tough game, and it will be a lot of fight from the home team and with the support of the fan. But also we will try to do our best to get what we want.
Now, this is the first semi-final the UAE have reached since they played in the '96 final. What does that say about the quality of this team you have here?
I think it's not the time to speak about the past. We are thinking about today's game only. We prepare the team. We have a good generation. We work for a long time for this moment, and we want to get what we have worked for a long time. Thank you.
Well, Novocastrians are a passionate bunch when it comes to football. The local club, the Jets, may be struggling. They still shifted over 10,000 memberships. And tonight is officially a sellout for this Asian Cup semi-final. UAE have got their supporters here as well. There were calls for some temporary seating to be erected in the hills at either end of this venue. They have both been waved away by the AFC, so just 23,000 can fit in. Most of them will be wearing green and gold, and I'm sure you could have sold out this place 3 or even 4 times over. Had things gone according to plan, of course, then Australia would have played in the far larger stadium in Sydney last night on Australia Day. The group stage loss to South Korea put paid to that. I'm sure they weren't expecting to be facing the UAE either. Mahdi Ali's well-drilled side saw off the holders on penalties and are in the last four for the first time since 1996. Now could they do what they've only managed to do in 5 previous attempts and defeat the host nation on their own soil? Australia battling odds of their own. No host nation has won an Asian Cup since 1992, and just 6 out of the 15 in total have been successful. But there is the feeling that this might just be the Socceroos' year after going so close to that splendid trophy 4 years ago in Qatar. South Koreans, of course, will be a tough nut to crack in the final. But before they can even think of that, it's the UAE who will play without expectation and without pressure this evening. That is all on the host nation, Australia. They're going to be led out by their captain, Mila Jedinak, for the 13th time. He will hope it's not unlucky 13. Conditions not the best. We have had heavy rain earlier on today in this part of the world, but thankfully that has now abated, although the skies above still threatening. And talking of threats, what about that man? 3 goals already at this AFC Asian Cup, and a man that's the UAE will have to keep a very close eye on indeed. Australia, the top scorers out of any nation at this competition with 10. They've had 32 shots on target, which is also the best of any of the 16 competing countries. The UAE showed their quality and their spirit in seeing off the holders Japan in the quarter-finals. They had to battle a rearguard action for the best part of an hour after taking an early lead through Ali Mabkout, who of course is the top goal scorer, joint top goal scorer of this Asian Cup with 4 goals. What will be their tactics tonight, I wonder? Will they come out firing as they did against the Samurai Blue, try and pinch a goal perhaps, and then defend as they did so admirably against the Japanese? They're not too far away from finding out. They did have 1 or 2 injury concerns, the UAE. Omar Abdul Rahman, their talisman in midfield, suffering with a bit of muscle soreness, but you would always expect him to play in a game of this magnitude, and his name appears on the team lineups. There's the Socceroos coach, Ange Postecoglou, just off to take his seat, getting a nice warm welcome on a rather cool grey and wet night here in Newcastle. We are almost set for go. There's 3 games remaining. This tournament has passed by in a flash and gone all too quickly. It's been thoroughly enjoyable. And for the home fans, they want to see their country in the final, where South Korea await after seeing off Iraq by 2-0 in Sydney in front of 36,000 yesterday night. Mila Jedinak looks nice and relaxed, doesn't he? Match ball already imprinted with the details of tonight's game. So a very special occasion for Newcastle. The last time the Socceroos played here was back in 1995, the Trans-Tasman Trophy against New Zealand. No disrespect to the Kiwis or to that cup, but this tonight is hugely more important. Can they make the final, or will the UAE spring another surprise? We're about to find out. Australia against the United Arab Emirates, the second semi-final of the 2015 AFC Asian Cup.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of United Arab Emirates.
Well, Newcastle, one of the cradles of the game here in Australia, with local competitions running as long ago as 1897. It gave the country its first genuine overseas export in Jimmy Jackson, and since then has produced legends such as Reg Dates, Ray Bartz, Cole Curran and Craig Johnston. But rarely has there been a night such as this. Into this vortex of local pride and national passion are thrown the UAE. They've already dumped the holders out. Now can they do the same to the hosts, who make two changes from the side that started against China? As expected, Mats Baranovic returns after a ban in place of Alex Wilkinson in defence, but it's in midfield where Ange Postecoglou had the biggest conundrum. In the end, he's plumped for Mark Milligan to play alongside skipper Mila Jedinak and Massimo Luongo, ahead of both James Troisi and Mark Bresciano, who is the man to make way. Milligan knows this venue well, of course, having played here at club level for the Jets briefly in 2008-2009. Our match referee is Ravshan Ermatov, the 5 times AFC Referee of the Year. He was also in charge of Australia's first match of the tournament against Kuwait in Melbourne. The two captains, Majid Nasser of the UAE, the goalkeeper, and Mila Jedinak, of course, leading his country for the 13th time of Australia. Now, two changes for the UAE as well. Walid Abbas is back at left fullback after serving his one-game ban for 2 yellow cards. So Abdulaziz Sankor shifts across to right fullback, with Abdulaziz Haikal dropping out. The other change is an interesting one. The pacey Ismail Al-Hamadi, who caused Japan plenty of problems, is benched in favour of Mohamed Abdul Rahman, brother of Omar, the main threat to Australia. Ali Mabkout is on track for the Golden Boot. He currently leads jointly with 4 goals, along with Jordan's Hamza Al-Dardour. Everyone on the Australian bench has seen game time, with the exception of the 2 reserve goalkeepers and midfielder Terry Antonis. Hamdan Al-Kamali unable to retain his spot, or reclaim his spot, I should say, in defence, after suffering a muscle strain in the group stage. Ange Postecoglou spoke this week of the demons still in his head from 2003, when the UAE knocked his young Socceroos out of the FIFA World Youth Cup. The UAE were at home in that tournament. Tonight, the roles reversed. And there's Mahdi Ali, bilingual, tactically smart, and mainly undemonstrative on the sideline. Every inch the modern coach, and his near decade-long tenure with these players from junior level all the way through could well have its coronation here tonight. There's the danger man, Omar Abdulrahman. Looks like David Luiz, plays like David Silva. Australia will hope to keep him quiet this evening. So Australia get the ball rolling in Newcastle. South Korea resting up in their hotel, waiting to find out who will join them in the final in Sydney this weekend. Their date with destiny is assured. What is going to happen tonight, Andy Harper?
Yeah, good evening, Simon. Well, the fortunes of the football match we await, but safe to say it's going to be a tense and exciting semi-final.
Given away cheaply by Australia. We know that the UAE made a very strong start against Japan, tried to put the bigger name, at least on paper, on the back foot right from the first whistle. Australia, I'm sure, will be aware of that.
Yeah, and one of the comments that's been hanging around the Socceroos through this Asian Cup is the relatively slow starts. But I think you can't take that in isolation. You have to put that up against teams that have been primed to play the host nations and physically are fresh, obviously, at the start of the match. But it's up to the Socceroos to see off the initial threat, something Japan couldn't do in the quarter-final on the weekend. And with such an array of talent in the UAE, and people who've written them off before kick-off are way too presumptuous. This will be a good one.
Thank goodness, for the moment at least, Andy, the heavens have stopped, because our journey up here to Newcastle from Sydney, there was torrential rain.
Well, the pitch has held up well. It's actually now perfect conditions for players and fans. The pitch has played well, obviously, given conditions to which you just referred. There was no need for the traditional pre-match sprinkler system, the use thereof, and the pitch is really ready to go, and the temperature is A1 perfect for football.
Adjusted down by Jason Davidson. Who set up one of those goals, the second goal for Tim Cahill against China, which earned the Socceroos their spots. Now they release Robbie Cruz, who tries to cross first time. And the opening corner of this semi-final goes to the host nation.
And a good fluent move, and it started again where it left off the other night with Trent Sainsbury releasing the midfield with a beautiful pass. Simple, effective, and penetrating. And the Socceroos are away down the far touchline. Corner the result.
Cahill, the obvious threat, but Sporanovic in there as well. That's to Jedinak, and the header is in from Trent Sainsbury. Oh, what a start for Australia. First goal for his country. They couldn't have written the script any better, Ange Postecoglou's team.
Well, it had to be that man. He's due one. He's come close a couple of times in this tournament. Matt Mackay profited against Oman from his header on the back post. And all the attention with Timmy Cahill. And no one picked up Trent Sainsbury. Evidently equally as dangerous. And the UAE have withstood 75 entries into the penalty area this Asian Cup and conceded only 4 goals. Well, the Socceroos have been there once for a return of one.
Well, Mahdi Ali's team was so diligent for so long against Japan. And they've been caught cold. The Socceroos, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed as they try and launch another raid, and Jason Davidson has whacked it straight into the midriff of Abdulaziz Sankour, who may need some attention.
Well, he's off the field, so you can't see him getting the attention.
At least not enough to hold up play. That's why he's quickly back on his feet.
Indeed. Well, let's see if they do a better job on Sainsbury this time.
Second set piece, whipped in low this time by Luongo.
What a brilliant start by the Socceroos. And that man, Trent Sainsbury, just young in his international career, but surely has a massive future.
Trent Sainsbury, who wasn't probably even sure that he would start in this Asian Cup run. He started every game so far.
Very important for the UAE that they settle in the face of what's going to be a Socceroos onslaught when they have the ball. The Socceroos have set the trap and they're looking to keep the UAE in here, put early pressure on them and pinch the ball as they've done.
It's cannoned off Massimo Luongo.
And what we've seen from the UAE, particularly in the Abdul Rahman brothers and Amir, the namesake, but no relation, the number 5, 3 incredibly technically adept players, and they'll need to call on all their resources to get out of this little sticky spot they're in at the moment.
I'm sure they won't panic, the UAE. They've not kept a clean sheet yet in this Asian Cup, and of course that run now continues. Still a long way to go. That's not the best release from Matt Ryan. Chested down by Omar Abdul Rahman. Delivered early. On the right by Ahmed Khalil. Back with Omar Abdul Rahman. Oh, through the legs. Briefly of Jelinek. Another little glimpse of his skills. And so too Matthew Leckie. Lovely football from both teams.
Yeah, good start. He is something to watch. The number 10 for the UAE, Omar Abdul Rahman. And if the Socceroos continue to give him space like that round the penalty area, they're going to be in trouble.
Now Franic trying to get the better of his man, and he crosses into space. It's beyond Tim Cahill and Matthew Leckie, who's chased it down here. Recycle through Milligan. Cruz central. Again, the UAE not particularly tight on Robbie Cruz, able to turn. Here comes the cross. UAE rather uncomfortable at the moment. They're expecting perhaps to make a strong start and a statement of their own. Instead it's Australia who are on the board first. Upfield by Mohamed Salem, who was rightly adjudicated, at least in our opinion, Harps, as man of the match against Japan. He was terrific.
It was just incredible. Even so, Japan will be still wondering how perhaps they didn't win that game. Had enough chances, but either side of those chances, Mohamed Salem was so typical of the UAE approach, just incredible resilience. But they've been rocked already early here from a set piece, finished off by Trent Sainsbury.
Good feet again by Omar Abdul Rahman. Not a particularly good cross though, unfortunately for the UAE, from Abdulaziz Sankor. Rather wasting that earlier good play. What about the accusation during the week, Andy, that when he came from the Australian camp, I don't know whether he was misquoted or not, Trent Sainsbury himself saying that he felt Omar Abdul Rahman, that while talented, was a little bit lazy.
Well, I'm not sure that the word lazy actually passed Trent Sainsbury's lips. I think that was an interpretation that people made of an answer he gave. But I think his strength is certainly attacking, it's fair to say.
This is Ahmed Khalil, scorer of 2 goals in this tournament already, both against Qatar, and that 4-1 win. Khalil's delivery. Fortunately for him, his teammate Tali Mabkout had been drawn towards the near post. Cross delivered towards the far. And all the excitement at the start, Andy, we've not really discussed the selection of Mark Milligan, which was the big talking point in the Socceroos starting 11.
Yeah, and around that, I guess there's a group of people who are assuming that he's going to have a man-marking role on Omar Abdul Rahman, but we'll see. It's too early to tell if that's been the job given him, but even to the extent that people are thinking that, it underplays just the quality that Milligan has shown off the bench in attacking the opponent's penalty area as well as defending the midfield.
Mabkut had 2 Australian defenders for attention, which was 1 too many so far as he was concerned.
It's a good challenge, this. The early goal from Australia has drawn the UAE out of their defensive setup when Australia have the ball, and they're pushing right up the field, putting the Socceroos under pressure.
It's another lovely ball from Omar Abdulrahman. Sankour in, off the base of the post from Ahmed Khalil. And they were just millimetres away from tying us back up at 1 apiece.
A beautiful move down the right-hand side, and you can only repeat, the Socceroos have been warned. That's a brilliant effort. Ahmed Khalil, such a danger man.
Lecky through the legs of Sankour. Referee's going to bring them back for the infringement.
Great little cameo there, Simon. Brilliant from Matthew Lecky to draw in Sankour and beat him. Equally brilliant was the coverage by the number 13, Kamis Ismail. I think he's an outstanding defensive midfielder, and just in that one little passage of play we saw 2 excellent parts of the relative teams.
Very much admired as well by his coach, Mahdi Ali, who restored him to the starting 11. The previous incumbent wasn't overly fond of him. Now Tim Cahill giving chase. Ahmed Salan had the front running, and there was a little bit of contact there as well. Free kick UAE.
Yeah, the attention from Timmy Cahill just a little bit too much.
There's the goal scorer.
What a great angle this will be. He was just unmarked, and not enough homework done, or if it was done, the lessons weren't absorbed by the defenders, because Sainsbury's been dangerous from corners for Australia.
Big smile on the dial of Ange Postecoglou. Sure, that was one of their set-piece plans. Cahill to draw the attention of the defenders. Trent Sainsbury with time, more importantly space, to pick his spots, which he did. Here's Lecky, who started the game well, trying to move it forward towards Jason Davidson, who's just held up by Sankour and cleared by Mohamed Ahmed. And there's a bit of a wrestling match going on between Sporanovic and the muscular Ahmed Khalil.
Terrific contest, wasn't it? When they've not gone into their shell at all, the UAE.
Milligan shifts it on. Davidson. Cruz. Davidson. Again, time and room to measure the delivery towards Cahill, who leaps. Tied it up by Ali Mabkut. Now Omar Abdulrahman. Ahmed Salah to punch it up towards halfway. It's a good touch down from Ahmed Khalil. Ahmed Abdulrahman able to burst through. Oh, there's a bit left in there from Kamis Ismail on Robbie Cruz, who's remained down on the turf in the centre circle. Meantime, this is Lecky inside the box, and he's outnumbered. Cruz without a boot, now chasing after Omar Abdulrahman in very determined fashion, and he's won it back, boots or not.
But Australia have given it away on the back of it. A very, very important part of the game here, as the Socceroos were looking to ram home their goal advantage and see if they could get clear early, or clearer. The UAE have re-established themselves magnificently, as has Robbie Cruz, with only 1 boot.
He went sock first. Here's Luongo. Gets it back off Mark Milligan. Laid off by Cruz. Jedinak. Lecky. Franic arriving outside him. Jedinak with time. Back with Franic, who gets past Mohamed Abdulrahman with ease. And a chip in towards Cahill, who went for it. Lecky! Good block by the UAE defence, dug out, and then Davidson will score! His first international goal as well. And Australia have a 2-goal cushion after just 14 minutes.
Want to look at what it means to the players from Australia, that extra little bit of early breathing space as the UAE look to come back at them. And Jason Davidson, who sets up Timmy Cale's number 2 against China, helps himself to one. It might have been Matthew Leckie. Look at the work the defenders are doing on Timmy Cale, and credit to them. But it's leaving other players free. Trent Sainsbury for the first goal, and now the unlikely Jason Davidson from left fullback strokes the ball into the near side of the goal and gives Australia a 2-goal cushion.
And credit too to Massimo Luongo, who dug it out. Jason Davidson being watched by his father Alan here tonight, a Socceroo of some repute back in the day. Well, that scoreline looks very good indeed for Australia already as we approach the quarter-hour mark. Remember 4 years ago, they absolutely battered Uzbekistan by 6-0. And the UAE, Andy, have got to shake the fog out of their heads.
Well, they look like they've done that. But Timmy Cale just has attracted so much attention in the 2 goal-scoring moments that other free players have been able to do the business. The Socceroos, I'm going to venture to suggest, won't sit on this 2-goal lead. They'll look as best they can to get even further clear. That will present opportunities for the UAE, and it's a test of their readiness, test of their mental strength to believe they can still get something out of this game, which of course they must believe, and they should believe, because there's heaps of time and they've got heaps of talent.
How about this? The 12th goal Australia have scored in the tournament, and from the 10th different source. And all the talk in the build-up, Andy, from you and I included, was who other than Tim Cahill was going to score the goals? Because here's one of those that's delivered, Jason Davidson. That's quite remarkable, isn't it? 10 different goal scorers in a major competition.
It's been one of the major themes of the narrative around this team in the last 12 months. Timmy Cahill.
Here's Cruz, corner.
Has scored so many goals, and they've been so crucial, and he has been the biggest name in the team because of his club career, that it's been the default position for most analysis. Understandably so to an extent, but the team, most certainly in this Asian Cup, is bursting through en masse.
Now, who garners the most attention here from this set piece? There goes Shaw's Australia. Cruz will drop the shoulder and fire it in low. And he's collected Mohamed Abdul Rahman again in the midriff. Cleared upfield by Abdulaziz Sankour. Lee Mabkout giving chase. Luongo, side of the boot for Cahill. Now Cruz, who has speed. However, Mohamed Salah had the good field position.
He read it brilliantly too. He sensed the danger. Man of the match in the quarter-final against Japan.
Ali Mabkout. See the ball on halfway, which is not really where he likes to get it. Leckie drifting across fields, tackled by Khamis Ismail. Omar Abdul Rahman again. He's in a position that doesn't really want to be picking the ball up in. You want him further upfield by a good 30 metres at least.
The UAE was still in transition at that point from defence. Here's a good turn.
Great turn from Ahmed Khalil, who of course clipped the base of the post, and then the shots. It's a little tame from Mohamed Abdul Rahman, but he's looked the liveliest of the UAE attackers, Ahmed Khalil.
He's got blistering speed. He's got great strength around his thighs and midriff. Terrific balance, very difficult to knock off the ball with a nose for goal. And all the ingredients for a very dangerous attacker.
Like an Emirati Mark Hughes, eh? Was that a big behind that used to good effect?
You've picked up that habit. It's a contagion, Simon. The Asian this, well, the Emirati that.
We're all part of Asia now, Hearts. We've got to run with it. going long. Easy knockdown for Cruz. Lecky starting on the attack again. They try and hang it up towards Tim Cahill. His deft touch took all the pace out of the ball. Now they'll rework it through Milligan and Jedinak.
Better start to the game, Nelly Jedinak, than the quarterfinal. He'd already coughed the ball up 3 occasions by now, but much more assured, the skipper. Far better for the 90 minutes under his belt.
Franic going low. Lecky. Danger again for the UAE. Here comes Cahill. Good intervention by Abdulaziz Sankor. And what about that from Omar Abdulrahman? His namesake, Omar Abdulrahman, has turned the ball over. Here's Cahill inside the box.
Milligan had broken forward as well. If Cahill could have seen him just to his left as he faced the goal, to his right as he received the ball.
Thomas Ismail looking to release Ali Mabkout. He's going to have to go some to keep it in play, and he's done really well. Asian Cup's joint leading goal scorer. Top of the box is Omar Abdulrahman trying to punch it through for Ahmed Khalil. They're still a threat, the UAE.
Brilliant though from Speranovic. What fantastic spare defender position and play there to launch Australia's counter.
Lecky puts it into space for Cruz. Good cover provided by Mohamed Salem.
Socceroos haven't been able to enjoy a field as open as this for quite some time. And of course the scoreline is drawing the UAE out. They're going to have to chase the result now rather than sit and poach on the counter-attack.
Cruz, beautiful. Through 2 defenders as if they weren't there. Cahill unable to control it, and then it's off the hand of Matthew Lecky.
And the challenge for the Socceroos, Robbie Cruz, in that last instance, is to look for the second player, because honestly, like bees to the honeypot, Tim Cahill surrounded by 3. The mathematics suggest that there are spare gold shirts.
What a ball that was. Pity for the UAE that Ali Mabkout was offside. The range of Omar Abdulrahman and the deft touch of that left foot. This is with the instep.
Yeah.
He is just off, but beautifully delivered.
Well, Mabkout's touch wasn't half bad either. They're a really good combination. We've enjoyed them the entire tournament. They've got great telepathy.
Could he make it in Europe, Omar Abdulrahman, Andy?
Well,
on the basis of what you've seen?
I think you need to toughen up a bit. There's no question about his skill set and his technique. But let's see if he can lead his team out of trouble here. That'll be a big marker. This is what European clubs will be looking for.
Here's Lecky. Disguised pass. Cruz. Pretty tame in the end. It's not exactly uncharted territory for the UAE. This is their 3rd semi-final appearance, but it is their first in 19 years. Since they reached the final back in 1996, which they lost to Saudi Arabia on penalties. This opening quarter of the game, Australia just threatening to blow them away, although they have hit the post through, and he's just earned a throw there, Ahmed Khalil. He will be delighted with the way things have gone. Thomas Ismail. No foul on Walid Abbas, even though he pleaded for one. Mardi Ali with the now familiar red cap. Sure, there's plenty of thinking going on underneath it as well as to how to get them out of this rather sticky situation that they find themselves in. Milligan for Lecky. Neatly done between he and Davidson, and Lecky's away. Clips off the fullback and well prevented from going behind for the corner by Majid Nasser, the UAE captain. And then Cahill with the tackle from behind. Free kick UAE.
Well, Matthew Lecky just continues to grow. He came so close again to a goal. The rebound off his effort, of course, led to Jason Davidson making it 2-0, but he's just growing in stature as an international player. He's leading the UAE in particular, some call the near touchline a merry dance.
One in the air by Sporanovic initially, and subsequently as well. That's good play. Lecky again looks really in the mood. Ball's just run away from him for a throw-in. He's grown in stature as this competition has progressed. As we've pointed out once or twice already, Andy, all that's missing for him really is a goal.
Yeah, indeed. And I reckon once he gets one, a couple, they'll start to flow. But he's looking so good, the development so impressive.
Rahman giving it straight to Davidson, who'll continue his run forward, and Cruz will look to find him. Davidson will chase that one down. Hale and Lecky in the box, Cruz at the top of it. No delivery. So a little push there by Milligan. Referee had a good view of it and said no. Square ball from Jedinak. Franic down the line. This is Luongo. It's over the top of of post and bar.
Well, it's a crowd teaser because they've interpreted that effort from Luongo as a shot, improbable as it may have seemed. I think his apology, acknowledgement to Tim Cahill, suggests otherwise, and he just got it wrong. Here's the goal from Jason Davidson. It's a really good finish. The more you look at it, he didn't have a lot of space to work with. And there's his father, very proud father. When asked questions about Timmy Cahill's status as the greatest Australian player ever, I tell you, there's plenty who reckon Alan Davidson's in that discussion. And he'll be as proud as anything of watching his son do the business for his country.
50-odd plus caps for Australia, Alan Davidson. And a brief stint overseas, of course, as well, with Nottingham Forest many years ago. Jason with West Brom, and not getting a huge amount of game time. Enjoying himself at this Asian Cup.
Yeah, look at that from Max Sporanovic. Panic-free, balance, interception, and then setting his team away.
Cruz has managed to retrieve it. Still he goes on. Lecky went first time. Couldn't link up with Cahill. Now Ali Mabkut. Two defenders for company. He does have pace. So too does Sporanovic, who had the inside running on him. Jedinak, who's looked a lot more assured on the ball than he did in Brisbane against China. Or just put the curse on him now, Andy.
It happens too often, Simon. You'll notice I didn't nibble for that very reason.
Now Ishmael seemed to be distracted by the presence of Davidson there. Tied up by Mohamed Ahmed. Belted upfield by Majid Nasser, and the bounce might just favour the UAE here. Here's Ahmed Khalil with Ali Mabkut outside him, but his first touch wasn't sure enough, which is virtually his first mistake of the evening. He's played pretty well, Ahmed Khalil.
Yes, that's good work from Amar Abdul Rahman. Again, Sporanovic, positioning sensational. That was a hell of a tackle too, to stop Khalil by Ivan Franic just moments ago as the UAE burst through the centre of Australia's defence.
Australia with 8 penalty box incursions, opening 28 minutes or so. Crucially, the 2 goals, courtesy of 2 defenders, and not Tim Cahill. Trent Sainsbury and Jason Davidson come in the 9th and 10th. Different goal scorers for the Socceroos at this tournament.
A lot's been said, Simon, about the red-hatted coach of the UAE, Mahdi Ali, and the job he's done by being given time to grow and breathe with this team. many of the predecessors in this sort of situation, playing away from home against a host nation, down 2 would have collapsed even further. But they're digging in, and they're still believing they can get something.
Got to defend these sort of situations, though. Better than they have done the early part of the game. Credit to them, they have done just that. On that occasion, at least. Mohamed Abdul Rahman releasing Ahmed Khalil. And there's 3 up in this attack for the UAE. Khalil still going, looking for Omar Abdul Rahman. Put behind, I think that's the first corner for the Emirates.
It is. And it just, again, shows the danger that confronts any team playing against this guy, Ahmed Khalil. And it was a pretty innocuous delivery to him when he picked up the ball, but with space and just a one-on-one situation, he's got such athletic prowess that something can come of it. And a good situation here for the UAE to put down a marker.
They give the Socceroos some problems from a set piece. It's won by Ahmed Khalil. Not the direction he wanted. He's a handy player, plays for Al Ahly in the local competition in the Emirates. And was the Asian Young Footballer of the Year back in 2008. Still just 23, one of many with big potential for Al Abyad, the white. Greenwich turning into trouble. Lovely back heel from Omar Abdul Rahman for his namesake, but not brother, Mohamed Abdul Rahman. And then Omar Abdul Rahman. The latter 2 are brothers. Are you following all this?
I'm with you.
Then try and combine.
Every step of the way. As the Socceroos are diligently to snuff out the attack. Good disciplined defending as a block by Australia.
Cruz looking down the line for Luongo. Ran away from him. What a boost the fit again Robbie Cruz has been to this Australian lineup. Of course, they missed him in Brazil for the World Cup. Cruz, for his part, said he was so disappointed he couldn't even watch the big showpiece events last June, July. So he went on holidays to the United States. Very much involved in this Asian Cup. Back for his goalkeeper, Matt Ryan. I tell you, seen the first signs of displeasure from Ange Postecoglou on the sidelines. So the ball shifted forward a lot quicker. Now they're doing just that. Cruz. Look at the space here for Jason Davidson. Cruz. About to make progress into the box. Now Davidson. Puts it across, Kale will leave it. Oh, just a slight miscue from Massimo Luongo. Otherwise he might have been set for the shot there, the Swindon Town midfielder. Here he is again. One step over, looks for the byline and overruns it.
Just hasn't quite got into the game yet, Mass Luongo. The breakout tournament so far for him under the tutelage of national coach Ange Postecoglou, but in an attacking sense, he's been a bit of a missing link in this opening period.
Well, the UAE, and you just caught sight of their coach, Mahdi Ali there. They don't lose too many, certainly not of late. Just 5 defeats in 38 matches under Mahdi Ali. Got a big task ahead of them now, trailing by 2 goals to 0. Milligan. Lecky. First time ball from Jedinak. Off the thigh of Cahill.
Brilliantly defended. Really brilliantly defended by Garbib. He didn't get sucked into the physical contest with Tim. Cahill played off
now,
the touch.
Ahmed Khalil is away. from Sporanovic. Can he link up with Ali Mabkouts? All that was missing was the final execution from Ahmed Khalil. Mabkout waiting. The ball didn't arrive. All the talk about Omar Abdulrahman, and really it's been Ahmed Khalil who's been most impressive for the Emirates. Although, in fairness, some of Omar's passing has been delicious. Ali Mabkouts. Here's Ahmed Khalil. Socceroos streaming back and shots on target, but no real problems for Ryan.
And he did well because he had Mabkouts sweating on a fumble. Tidied it up nicely. Matt Ryan, a little bit of sloppiness coming in from the Socceroos. Will attract the ire of coach Ange Postecoglou.
So far, the host nation on track for a final this weekend against South Korea in Sydney. And that would be sure to sell out, as this one did tonight. Reduced capacity, of course, because of the hills at both ends. Omar Abdulrahman again. Nice little back heel. So much awareness of space. Where is two months of position? There we go, there's the curse again. Straight at Davidson.
Just imagine the little 1v1 games in the backyard of the Abdul Rahman household.
Yeah.
Mohammed and Omar.
I can tell you there's a third brother, Andy, called Khaled, who's not in this squad, but is also a professional, also plays for Al Ain, as the other two do. Good luck to the commentator of their games. Always a difficult task, though, playing against the host nation, which, if you believe the rumours emanating around Asian Football Confederation circles, the UAE will be the host nation in 4 years' time. It's a smart mail, yet to be officially confirmed. That, of course, will be expanded from 16 to 24 teams.
If the next instalment is as much fun as this one's been, I can't wait.
Cruz's route through was blocked by Khamis Ismail. Had a tremendous game against the Japanese, and Tim Cahill just reminding Omar Abdulrahman that he's still around.
Yeah, we all saw it.
Two players who probably received the most press in the build-up to this one. This is Walid Abbas. Punched forward by Omar Abdulrahman. But Khalil is away from Lecky. Back with Walid Abbas. Lecky did his job well there. He tracked the run of Ahmed Khalil, which takes some doing. Powerful customer. Cale's offside at the other end.
How about the quick release from Matt Ryan?
Ange Postecoglou doesn't think so.
Well, he'll feel like he had the perfect view of that. Timmy Cahill release. It's onside. It's a mile onside.
He has to be, because he's inside his own half.
It's ridiculous. That's what it is, Simon.
No arguments from me.
How can an assistant referee, I mean, it's a tough rule to adjudicate a lot of the times, but honestly,
you've got a line there on the park
wow.
that's telling you he's onside.
Anyway, the Uzbek officiating team has been fabulous for the most part. Got that one wrong.
Omar Abdulrahman. Going off on a slalom, mazy dribble around the outside and trying to chip it through for Ahmed Khalil. And just the faintest of touches off the boot of Ivan Franic puts it behind for a corner. But again, he is so slippery and so thoroughly enjoyable to watch in full flow.
Yeah, and I just don't know, once he's just swept past players, even having his shirt tucked.
Yep, Trent Sainsbury.
And Ivan Franic was panic stations there, but he did enough.
Corner whipped in, and Tim Cahill proving his aerial ability defensively as well as offensively. He's got a knock as well. They climbed beautifully there, Cahill. Here he is again. Again, another defensive header. Crowds appreciating it. He's in the left fullback position at the moment. Here he is.
Head it, Tim, head it. Well, Australia under some pressure. The UAE full of belief.
Khamis Ismail. This is Mohamed Abdulrahman with Abdulaziz Sankour on the right if he needs him. Goes inside instead, and then Amr Abdulrahman decides to use Sankour, who drills it across, just catching practice for Ryan.
Look at the transition. He's up for the chase, both in green and gold and white.
Lecky's got pace, we know that. He's got a bit lucky there, but he's away from the defenders. Still going Lecky, he's overrun it. Just overcooked, and he left a bit in there as well on Mohamed Salem, which the UAE are not best pleased about.
And then Omar Abdulrahman left a bit on Jason Davidson, two in a rich embrace. Yellow card for Lecky on Salem. Just the ball just rolling that little bit far away from Lecky, who was in full flight. Well, you can see why the ref gave it, but the fact is it was Mohamed Salem's follow-through that got Lecky, not the other way around.
Yellow card worthy?
No, I didn't think so.
Just a little bit of grease applied to the brow, I think, of Tim Cahill. Sort of a whack in that earlier defensive manoeuvre. Here it is again. Used Ali Mamkout as a bit of leverage there, didn't he?
But where there's a will, there's a way.
I'll tell you what.
You know what? I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
You know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Is there a question there?
I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. Mamkout was backing into the contest.
Okay.
And that is what mitigates against Tim Cahill being penalised. Because the thought crossed my mind as well. Can't afford to lose Salem. He's been outstanding for the UAE.
Thigh of Jason Davidson last. It's been a fairly decent response from the UAE after going 2 goals down so early. It's Amr Abdulrahman for Omar Abdulrahman. There is an option wide left, which is what he's trying to seek out. Franic read it, and now Lecky on the charge with Luongo outside him. Lecky drifting inside, and there's open spaces here. UAE trying to get back. It's not a great release from Massimo Luongo. The game was rather stretched there for a moment or two.
Well, the running off the ball from the Socceroos was not at all as required. Cahill and Robbie Cruz ran into the same real estate. One needed to run the diagonal and one needed to loop out.
Milligan, top of the box, smart Milligan. Quite get hold of it.
That last little attack from Mark Milligan, as people have been watching this first half, goes to show the job he's been given, which is not to man-mark Omar Abdulrahman. He's been given this job because he's proven that he can attack as well as he can defend that midfield. And in fact, as expected, there's no policeman job on Omar Abdulrahman. It's not the way Postecoglou would set his team up. Milligan has won the job not for the specifics of that opponent, but because of his own performances. That's my assumption anyway.
Maybe those extra defensive qualities got him the nod over James Troisi. Perhaps because of the fact that he knows this ground as well as anybody. Played here for the Jets. Kale offside again. Getting Ange Postecoglou, he's not happy.
Well, we had a good look at that one, and I don't reckon that one was right either. A lot of the Socceroos' best stuff is from pitching in midfield like that work from Robbie Cruz. Excellent.
Lucky half-time approaching. A third one here would make it a mountain to climb for the UAE. Lucky trying to escape the clutches of Mohamed Ahmed. Into 1 minute of stoppage time. Cruz. Australia looking to finish the half as they started it, on the front foot. Quite the right angle from Milligan.
It's those little bits of sloppiness that will be a key part of the half-time address in Ange Postecoglou. UAE are just one moment of footballing magic or madness away from being right back into the game.
Abdulrahman watching a high ball at Matt Ryan out to the edge of the D and heading it. Abdulrahman, that was a shot, I can assure you.
Yeah, not a bad idea either. He has the technique to match. He couldn't get it right on that occasion.
Trying to turn defence into attack in the blink of an eye. That'll do us for the first half. It couldn't have gone better for Australia as we watch again Omar Abdulrahman's long ball, which was well read by Matt Ryan. The goals from Trent Sainsbury and Jason Davidson, unlikely scorers perhaps, mean that Australia have 1 foot in the final of this AFC Asian Cup. Ahmed Khalil has hit the post. The UAE not dead just yet, but it's a long way back. At the break, Australia 2, UAE 0. And welcome back to Newcastle, with Australia first to emerge from the tunnel with 1 foot in Saturday's AFC Asian Cup final, thanks to goals from and centre screen there, Jason Davidson, who followed on from Trent Sainsbury's opener after just 3 minutes. So Al Abyad, the white of the UAE, won't be hoisting the white flag just yet. They still pose a threat. They've clipped the post through Ahmed Khalil, who's looked by far their most dangerous player. If they can get Omar Abdulrahman on the ball a little bit more and in better areas than they did in the first half, then those smiling faces on the Australian players could yet turn to scowls. They have to go all the way back to 1955 to find the last team to defeat Australia at this venue, however. Was South Africa by 4 goals to 1. Not many at Newcastle Stadium tonight will give odds on a UAE comeback. Australia in the box seat. They've got the UAE exactly where they want them. Interesting that Mahdi Ali, the UAE coach, took a fair while before heading down the tunnel at the interval, was involved in a long discussion with one of his assistants. Very, very important team talk he's just delivered. I'm about to see if it's going to pay dividends, and already I can see that the UAE are pondering a change. Ismail Al-Hamadi, the flying left-sided winger who did so well against Japan in the quarterfinals, is going to take the place of Mohamed Abdulrahman. I have to say, I was a little bit surprised he wasn't in there right from the start today. Mohamed Abdulrahman, that's hugely effective in that opening period. Let's see if his replacement could do any better. Just waiting for Majid Nasser, the UAE keeper, who takes the field now. In Kale we trust, says the banner. They've not needed him so far. Majid Nasser, beaten twice in the first half. What's in store for us in the second? Australia halfway to the Asian Cup final, halfway to their 250th win at international level. And already they've stolen the ball at the outset of the second period, and Massimo Luongo trying to get on the end of the return ball from Robbie Cruz to no avail.
Well, last roll of the dice is 45 for the UAE, who've been great in this tournament and were reasonably good in that first half. But Coach Marty Ali, I think, got the selection wrong. I think the tactic of not playing Al Hamidi and using his speed to hurt Australia, you can understand why he thought of Mohamed Abdul Rahman. If Australia are going to press, let's try and keep the ball and we'll use our technicians to do that. Mohamed Abdul Rahman is one such player, so I understand the logic. It just didn't work, and the reason, most obviously, it didn't work when you look at the replays of Australia's second goal and the lack of work defensively that Mohamed Abdul Rahman did to stop Ivan Franjic down the far touchline. It was a defensive non-effort, and Australia, 3 or 4 passes, a block shot and a skirmish later have gone too clear.
Well, such fine margins, aren't they, at international level, particularly in the biggest games. I'm with you, Andy. Slightly surprised that Al Hamidi didn't start. Anyway, he's on now. That's offside against Ali Mabkout.
Ismail Al Hamidi was the player in the early moments who did so much damage for the coach against Japan. He really put Japan on the back foot. His speed all day was a real feature of that match. The same technical kit bag as Mohamed Abdul Rahman, and that's what Marty Ali was looking to do, to wrest control of the game's momentum by his technicians.
But pace is such a key weapon, isn't it? And Al Hamidi has it in spades.
Indeed. There's no point having players out there with technique if they don't use it. Mohamed Abdul Rahman just didn't get involved. If he's hurting teams when he's in possession of the ball, that's one thing. You can forgive the lack of defensive work, but he was exposed badly at the second goal. And now it's all for the UAE to do.
Back heel from Omar Abdul Rahman, delightful again. That's what this game's all about, those little flicks and tricks. He really got one foot, but what a left foot it is, and he's threaded it through, and again Ali Mabkout has just gone too early. If those two can combine, Australia may yet still have a problem.
Well, they do have wonderful football chemistry.
Oh, and that's tight.
It's just off. I'd say it's just off. Could easily have been called onside. That's how tight it was. Great chemistry between those two players.
Ahmed Salem giving the linesman a real spray. Chested down the throw by Luongo, and they appeal for hands against Mohamed Ahmed, but it had to have been unintentional. Australia get a corner,
Good
nothing
coverage.
more.
Really good coverage from Mohamed Ahmed. Salem beaten. Ball bounced up for Mas Luongo. No handball at all.
Came off the side of the body. Luongo about to deliver the outswinger. Whipped it with pace towards the near post, and it was Sporanovic who threw himself at it, and it was deflected away for another corner for the Socceroos.
Well, from set pieces for the Socceroos, it's a multi-pronged strike force. Sainsbury scored one. Sporanovic loomed on the near post on that occasion.
See if they're fooled again, the UAE. It's being drawn towards Tim Cahill, who's being very tightly watched by Khamis Ismail, but not by anybody else. There's going to be a variation on the theme from the set piece. Clipped in by Davidson, and Nasser's come a long way. And the flag's up near touchline. We remarked against Japan, he's not the tallest of goalkeepers, Majid Nasser, which is why he relies on having good protection from his central defenders in particular. And he didn't reach that one either.
No, and Australia were called for offside before that exchange. It's a bit of a story of both keepers. The comments about Matt Ryan is that for the talent, some aren't convinced that Matt Ryan's actually tall enough. Well, I think he makes up for that in game anticipation. And his sheer vertical leap, he's got incredible spring. So too Majid Nasser. Missed that punch, protected by the offside call thereafter by the assistant.
Here's Omar Abdulrahman. Lovely feint to come back inside, and the disguise pass is just going to have a little bit too much on it. There have been glimpses, there have been moments of promise, but as yet, no real end product for the UAE. Luongo. Sliding challenge from Khamis Ismail. Franic is a little bit late on Ismail Al-Hamadi, who races away and now feeds Ahmed Khalil. They put some real power behind that one. It's always just fading away from Matt Ryan's left-hand uprights.
Well, the turnover and the speed, firstly of Al-Hamadi, and then the power of the shot by Ahmed Khalil. What a great shot this will be too, swirling away. I'd reckon Matt Ryan was beaten on that occasion. But a curl and swirl on the ball beat the goal.
You can hear the UAE fans just briefly. Heavily outnumbered, of course, here today. Trying to make themselves heard. Here's that man again, Omar Abdulrahman, trying to steer it in behind Sporanovic, who was alive to the possibilities. Little stint training with Manchester City in England. He had interest from Benfica. For the moment, he remains with Al Ain in the UAE. I reckon perhaps not for too much longer. Interesting, Harps, that Al Wada, the UAE club, have the last 36 hours claimed that they've got a bit of interest in signing Tim Cahill. That's a little bit of psychological ploy ahead of the semi-final to make that news public.
Well, you'd imagine there's a lot of interest in Tim Cahill. He scores such spectacular goals, it always sparks a bit of a frenzy. You only have to think back to the World Cup after the goal against Holland.
Good layoff again from Ahmed Khalil. Here's Ali Mabkout, and Khalil trying to steal it at the near post. Sainsbury just about did enough, but the UAE threatening. This is Ismail Al-Hamadi. Back for Omar Abdulrahman. Khalid Abbas was in a good position, but they didn't look for him. Now they'll find him. Australia in a good position, but the game is not yet won. One goal could put a very different complexion on this game. Omar Abdulrahman, a little bit too straight.
That very narrow option, low percentage, have again shown that the UAE players, Ahmed Khalil, Abdulrahman, Ismail Al-Hamadi, Ali Mabkout, very, very dangerous. What about Mabkout on that far touchline, that cross? It was a beauty, but the grass that he burned to get rid of Jason Davidson. Eye-watering, the speed of some of these guys.
Quick and powerful Ahmed Khalil. Gets on a run, and I'm not going to call him the Emirati of this version, Andy, but he is a little bit reminiscent of Bruce Jitte. That sort of a feel about him. Davidson shrugging off the intentions of Omar Abdulrahman, gets it back off Cruz, he's offside.
Well, you've got to say these opening exchanges, it's UAE who've got a little bit of a grip of the game. Socceroos running offside. Matt Sporanovic has been called to defuse a couple of worrying moments. Good coverage, Matthew Lemon.
Yep, helped his fullback out terrifically well there.
He'd almost buy a ticket for a foot race between he and Al-Hamadi.
That's the way it stands, with almost 10 minutes of the second half played. 2 early goals, and 2 Australian defenders. Intervention by Al-Hamadi.
Very impressive start to the second half by the UAE, who are dictating the game's flow at the moment.
The tournament is on the line, of course. This is Mohamed Ahmed. He rifle it in towards Ali Mabkout.
That was worth a go at the near post, wasn't it, from Ali Mabkout?
Now Cruz with a slip on the turf from the UAE defender, and he races clear. Only Kale up alongside him. Leckie is top of the box now as well. Still with Cruz, got it stuck between his feet for a moment. And eventually Cruz has dragged his effort wide. A good counter though from Australia.
Well, it was Mohamed Ahmed who got caught, misread the pass. And again, you've got to credit the work of Mohamed Salem, who delayed Robbie Cruz beautifully. Didn't overcommit. He just slowed the momentum of the onrushing striker. Reinforcements arrive for the UAE. The shot comes to nothing.
Cahill, driven back, illegally so, by Mohamed Ahmed. Just to reiterate, he is known as Mohamed Ahmed, even though he has Garib on the back of his jersey. Another one from the Al Ain club. Australia pondering their first change. Matt Mackay thrown on presently. One of Ange Postecoglou's trusted lieutenants during his early years at Brisbane Roar. Distribution from Majid Nasser. Immediately they look for Omar Abdulrahman, another back heel. Now they've found some space in the centre of the park, and they've got a 2-on-1 here on the left with Al-Hamadi, who might not need his teammates. Maybe he should have used Walid Abbas.
He might have, because he had the Socceroos in a nervous position defensively at that moment.
Here's the change for Australia. Mark Milligan, perhaps the surprise inclusion today, but he's certainly done his job. Mackay with a little over half an hour to complete it. Going over the top of Tim Cahill. A quiet game by his standards, hasn't he? Not that he'll care with the scoreline reading as it is.
And not if it stays the way it is. But the Socceroos got a fair bit of work to do yet. The second half has been dictated by the UAE. The Socceroos not able to break out of the dressing room at the moment from half-time. Here's a chance for the field to open up.
Luongo. Oh, he chose the wrong option. Wrong option.
Yeah, the cobwebs are starting to gather. Postecoglou can sense it.
I'll tell you what was instructive some seconds ago, Andy, when Australia turned to go back towards their own goalkeeper. Their coach threw his hands in the air in disgust. Demands the highest of standards and adherence to his game plan. Here's Franich, going the right way at least.
Well, it's only the highest of standards that'll win you this or any competition. 2 goals clear, the Socceroos, but not quite the entire picture. Now, Matt Ryan hasn't been forced into anything dramatic, but there have been more recent incursions into his penalty area by the UAE.
It's good scrapping again by Matthew Leckie. Really important part of his game. Khamis Ismail sliding it rather dangerously on Luongo. Fortunately took evasive action. Good release from Matt Mackay. Here come Australia. Cruz again, just got it caught up between his feet, but he's got a set-piece opportunity for the trip.
Yeah, the touch just not 100% for the Socceroos. That was a good situation developing. Free kick was earned, rightly so.
Mackay, time and room to turn. Lee Davidson, punch it in towards Cahill, puts it back across the face. This ball picked up by Jedinak.
I think that's Timmy Cahill's first clean win of the night. He's been a handful until now, but that was the first real clean contact from a cross he's enjoyed.
He's done his job by attracting a lot of attention, as you pointed out in the first half. Here's Cruz. Mohamed Salah, full stretch away, back into the box by Mackay. That's going to be a corner. Well left by Robbie Cruz, intelligently done because he knew he was offside. So he just let it run through. What a sight Newcastle Stadium is tonight. Packed to the rafters. So far, the team, most of those people are supporting, are on track for the final. Set pieces were the problem for the UAE in the early part of the contest. Spranovic has gone away, there's Cahill! And he couldn't get clean contact again, whistle's gone. A little bit of friendly banter between Cahill and Majid Nasser, at least I think it is.
Yeah. Now, Majid Nasser, as you've reported already this tournament, is a mercurial character. Timmy Cahill just entitled to go for that ball.
Where's the foul there?
Well, it's inside the 6-yard box, and you can't breathe on referees, on goalkeepers inside the 6-yard box. They didn't otherwise see anything wrong with it.
Rain started to tumble down again. It's very heavy earlier on in the day. We've escaped it for most of tonight's proceedings, but now the umbrella's going up and the coat's going on. Scampering after it, couldn't quite get there.
It'll force just a little bit of a readjustment from the players. The playing surface has been true all evening, without a lot of moisture on it, and this is, since the kick-off at least, the heaviest downpour we've had, so it might take some players a little moment or two to recalibrate the weight of the passing.
Now Luongo bursting clear of Al-Hamadi. There's not a lot on alongside him. Matt Mackay giving him an option. Well read by Mohamed Salah. Now Omar Abdul Rahman. Again, a delightful turn and a thread through, and Ali Mabkout trying to get there ahead of Matt Ryan. The threat remains. It's not quite one yet for Australia.
Again, Matt Leckie. Great defensive work to stop Ahmed Khalil on the near touchline. Excellent goalkeeping from Matt Ryan. Plays that extra defender.
That's how heavy the rain is. Even Mahdi Ali's put his tracksuit hood up. A yellow card for Miller Jedinak, who's a little bit lucky that those yellow cards from the group stage carried through to the quarter-final, because he picked one up against China as well.
Ouch.
So he won't be ruled out of the Asian Cup final, should Australia get there. It's clearly got a piece of Omar Abdul Rahman. All yellow cards expunged after the quarter-final stage. We're going to make another change shortly. Meantime, Omar Abdul Rahman swings it in, and Trent Sainsbury meets it. UAE continue to build a little bit of pressure. Going to make another change here. And Ahmed Khalil, who's been, for my money, the UAE's best tonight, is perhaps running a little short on gas, so he's going to take his leave. And on at his place is Saeed Al-Khatiri, a striker from Al Wasl who's yet to feature up until this moment for the UAE at this Asian Cup. Did score 4 times at the Asian Games last year as an overage player. His handy striker was nicknamed the Golden Boy in the UAE in his youthful years, but he did get into trouble with his former club side Al Wada for injudicious use of Twitter. You won't be surprised to hear that, Harps. Let's see if he can be the UAE's Golden Boy. They still trail by 2-0. This is Al Hamadi. A bit short for Omar Abdul Rahman. Did well. Omar Abdul Rahman. Oh, trip, is it? On Walid Abbas? No. The referee was right on top of it. Ange Postecoglou signalling that that was a dive.
Complete dive.
And now Australia are going to make their second change, and it's not going to be Tim Cahill's night tonight. He had a terrific night in Brisbane against China. Maybe he's saving those goals up for the final. He's going to be replaced by Tommy Juric.
Well, he was there or thereabouts when Australia scored their goals. Took his share of the defenders' attention. What a reception.
Well, the joke in Australian football circles is that Superman wears Tim Cahill pyjamas. That's certainly how they feel here. True legend of the game on these shores. Al-Khatiri, quite where he wanted it to go. Here's Mackay. Get it over the head of Omar Abdul Rahman. Ismail stretching for it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea from Matt Mackay. Chip the ball over Omar into the vacant space. Left fullback for Jason Davidson. Big opportunity this for Tommy Juric. Scored off the bench against Oman. Had a great chance to score against South Korea in Brisbane. This is his first game time since.
Just his 9th cap this evening. Omar Abdul Rahman, lovely release. Here's a chance for the UAE. Al Hamadi. Is there anybody at the back post? Oh, is that a foul? By Davidson. Again, there are just 1 or 2 anxious looks. Well, in fairness to Abdulaziz Sankor, not much of an appeal. They're just starting to ask a question or two, the UAE. They're taken short by the 2 Abdul Rahmans. Here's Omar. He's overcooked it.
Well, Australia are stretched. And Omar's ball to the near touchline for Al Hamadi. Put them in danger a little bit. Here's the penalty claim, and enough ball got by Jason Davidson, the ref right on it. It's a good call, but it's a very, very close thing. And just for that moment, Jason Davidson lost his bearings. He didn't realise there was a player bearing down. He hasn't put a foot wrong since he returned to the team in China. And you'd have to say that status continues, but it was merely a stud in it.
Good work by Davidson. Cruz, offside again.
Well,
It's a feature of Australia's play at the moment.
Exactly. The series of offsides for Australia are playing into the UAE's hands. Good field position, good set possession. The defence has been broken up. And not for the first time an Australian player strays into offside and the pressure is relieved.
Just the general pattern of the game, Andy. Postecoglou, would you be concerned about this, even if at the moment they look fairly comfortable in terms of the scoreline? South Korea, of course, if they are to go through to the final, are a different level again, with the greatest respect to the UAE.
Yeah, I agree with the point you made, that it's too early to be writing the obituary for the UAE. Because they've had a good second half.
Again, Australia can't hang on to the ball. This is Omar Abdulrahman. Clearly onside. Sankor's cross. Held up by Sainsbury. Helped further away by Davidson. Beautifully controlled again by Omar Abdulrahman. Try and burrow a way through. Now Cruz trying to get to the loose ball. Thomas Ismail has done terrific work there. Even though eventually he's given away the free kick, he prevented the counter.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. He's such an impressive player, this Ismail.
Missed a penalty, of course, in the shootout against Japan.
Okay, so it's not totally impressive.
Wasn't trying to catch you out of halves. Good turn by Leckie. Outside of the boot, Massimo Luongo. Luongo to try and bend it, and there was a fingernail, was there, on there from Majid Nasser?
That was
the
a
referee
save.
says goal kick.
Yeah, that was definitely a save. Great turn, Matt Leckie. Just not quite enough on the pass. Luongo adjusted brilliantly, and I'm convinced Majid Nasser got a touch on this. This will tell all. Yep, should be a corner for the Socceroos. Goalkeeper in that vexed situation where they'd love the credit for the save, but they'd rather not defend the corner.
Only playing because regular number 1, Ali Kassif, is undertaking military service at the moment. Majid Nasser wearing the captain's armband as the most senior player in the squad. Here's Luongo, who he denied a few moments earlier, not seen by the ref. Mackay. Cruz. Davidson pushing forward from left fullback. Given away by Leckie. Credit to him. Atoned for his error. Sporanovic. Forward by Jedinak. Helped on its way by Mackay. Now Cruz. Finds a gap for Matthew Leckie. Luongo. There were two around him and it's stolen by Said Al-Khairi. Just held up briefly by Mackay, which is enough time for Australia to get back in numbers. Al-Hamadi. This time he uses Walid Abbas on the left. Omar Abdulrahman. For Omar Abdulrahman. Mohamed Salem. Ahmed Ahmed with the release, and they've worked that well, the UAE. Abdulaziz Sankor. Al-Hamadi showing, but he went for the cross instead towards Al-Khairi. Just the wrong options on occasion.
No, not for the first time. Matt Sporanovic, either he or Sainsbury there, just to knock the ball clear. Their defensive work has been outstanding this evening. But that was terrific football from the defence to attack by the UAE.
Floated in by Omar Abdulrahman. Leckie was there. It's been a tireless performer, Matthew Leckie. And now he takes over from Luongo. A whole lot up ahead of him, so they're forced to turn back, Australia. Davidson. Jedinak. Gets it back off Cruz. They'll spread the play through Luongo. Leckie. Kranich push forwards from right back. Leckie got a touch as well, didn't he?
Yeah, there's no question.
Well, that's twice.
Well, he's human after all, the referee. Clearly the best in Asia, but he has made a couple of blues in the last couple of games. That's so obviously a save.
He tried to withdraw the hand, but still clearly got a touch.
Well, you can sort of forgive the first one, the shot from Mas Luongo, but that was pretty evident to everyone at the ground, and I'm sure watching on television. And you know, potentially crucial misses by the referee, because set pieces for Australia are a strong point. You know, the game, not the scoreboard, but the game is balanced. And the UAE pinch one and they're right back in it. Australia score one and you'd reckon it's about done.
No way through for Cruz. Just over a quarter of an hour to go. The UAE can pinch one, it would make for a nervy finish. Al-Hamadi. Would you say Australia have just played within themselves in this second half, or are we not giving enough credit to the UAE?
No, I'd go with the second half of that. I think the UAE have shown the requisite hunger defensively. They've recovered well, they've blocked shots.
That's loose though from Omar Abdulrahman. Cruz. Mackay. Wongo. Mackay angles it out towards Davidson. Now Robbie Cruz. They've worked this well, Australia, and they find the cross. They've sort of bisected the areas where Luongo and Lecky were. The corner's not a bad outcome off Wally Davis. Wongo then with the outswinger. Jedinak has punched the ball back towards goal with the bonds. Too much elevation. Thankfully the rain has abated for the 21,079 in attendance here today. Australia edging ever closer to a second successive Asian Cup final. That's a clear high foot from Trent Sainsbury. Caught a bit of the scalp there of Syed Al-Khatiri.
Yeah, clearly accidental.
Accidental,
But a clear foul.
Omar Abdulrahman to Omar Abdulrahman. And it's held up by the referee of all people. He's not had a good 5 or 10 minutes, has he, Ravshan Ermatov?
Well, I don't know. That was a fantastic touch.
If you're Australian,
yeah.
Cruz has collapsed on the turf. Has to be in some pain. Just go over on the ankle there, or is there more to it than that?
I sort of hope he was caught, because I hope that, it's not an Achilles, because he's not in enough pain. Then maybe he was just caught, which is a relief.
And a change for the UAE, their third and final one. Left back Walid Abbas about to be replaced by Habush Saleh, midfielder from the Bani Yas club. And in common with Syed Al-Khatiri, this is his first action at this Asian Cup 2015. Did score a crucial goal against Uzbekistan to qualify the team for the Olympics in London 3 years ago. There's confirmation of the crowd figure here in Newcastle, 21,079.
Mexican ripple goes around the ground.
Not quite a wave. Cruz back up on his feet and on the ball, but shows too much of it to Mohamed Ahmed. First touch for the new man, Habush Saleh. Wongo puts it high up in the air, back over his head. Lecky challenges for it and wins it.
Well, Ange Postecoglou's seen enough. Closing stage, the 90 minutes at least. That last little hoof skyward by Masluongo, it mightn't mean the end of the section for him necessarily, but he'll be looking to get some more football being played, because pretty much it's the UAE have been doing the playing in this second half, certainly at least their share of it.
It's been a bit disjointed, hasn't it? Second period. Mackay rolls it into the path of Davidson, who puts it back towards Cruz, and again just basic errors from Australia, turning the ball over, which is a cardinal sin in the eyes of Postecoglou.
Beautiful play. And again, Sporanovic. If it's not him, it's Sainsbury.
Omar Abdulrahman. This is Amar Abdulrahman. Quite come off that, and Davidson should be able to clean up. Omar Abdul Rahman again. Doesn't quite get the plaudits of his namesake, Omar, but he's a tidy player as well. Had a trial at Blackburn Rovers a couple of years back. It's well intercepted by Leckie, who's been terrific tonight for Australia. This is Juric,
who ran away from his support. Leckie was free down the right. Again, it's these decisions, as much as anything, by the Socceroos, which are just not closing things off here at all.
Abu Saleh. Here's Ali Mabkout. Danger perhaps for the Socceroos, but he's turned into traffic in the shape of Miller Jedinak. And Leckie is the outlet. Cruz says put it into an area, and Robbie Cruz will race onto it. Will he get there ahead of the defender? He does. But Mohamed Ahmed has done enough to shepherd him out wide. That's good defending. Back for Leckie. A sure first touch and a shoulder barge. But Mohamed Ahmed is strong.
Great double dipping as far as the defender's concerned. Turned and chased Robbie Cruz and then zeroed in on Matthew Leckie. Great double effort.
Tired bodies on both teams. Matt Mackay's going to have a lash at it. Did score here for Brisbane Roar in the A-League a few years back. That's the end of the section for Robbie Cruz, who's perhaps noticeably been running out of petrol in the last 10 or 15 minutes. A few loose touches, and he got that knock as well. Again, I'm sure we'll see him in the Asian Cup final on Saturday, should Australia be there. James Troisi, his replacement.
Another very popular performance and a very popular player, Robbie Cruz. Good wholehearted effort from the Bayer Leverkusen man.
James Troisi on for his 20th cap. A very good performance off the bench against the UAE in the friendly between the two in Abu Dhabi late last year. It's only the third meeting in total between the two countries. The previous two have ended in goalless draws. It's weak clearance from Ryan, Said Al-Khatiri. Guess who's in the way? Sporanovic again. Hamadi. As Carlos Ismail had gone for the return, couldn't be found. A bit of a slice off the left boot of Matt Ryan. Well, it looks like they're going to get the job done, Australia, but I'm sure they'll take huge amounts of credit for their second half display. Abu Saleh. Leckie threw himself at Abu Saleh, and the two of them both took evasive action. High boot by Carlos Ismail, free kick Australia. Seven minutes remaining for Mahdi Ali's team to turn it around. Otherwise, Ange Postecoglou will be taking his team to Sydney on Saturday to face South Korea. Greenwich has run it over the whitewash. And if you had to give Australia a mark out of 10 today, Andy, well, what would it be?
Well, if they finish up in front, you've got to give them almost 10 out of 10 because they'll have qualified for the final. Look, I think there's going to be a lot of context put on the performance of both teams. And managing the 6-game run, if it's going to be that to get to a final, is the big thing. And they haven't been as impressive as in this second half as they've been in every other moment of the rest of the games that preceded. But there's still time for something special.
That's better from Tommy Juric. Creates the angle. Juric! One of the better moments for Australia.
A little bit of concern with Ivan Franjic, who's just stretching his groin, but Tommy Juric going left then right, shooting again with his left. From distance, Majid Nasser not troubled.
Omar Abdurrahman. It's all or nothing really now for the UAE. Abu Saleh. Cycle through Omar Abdulrahman. Now Khamis Ismail. Well, that's optimistic.
Yeah, particularly from a player of his quality. He's had such a good tournament. Now, that's a sign that to me, that they've pretty much run out of belief and hope now. They've been good value in this second half, the UAE.
Mackay turning away from a very tired-looking Khamis Ismail. Troisi, little step over, fires it in, and it's punched away by Majid Nasser. Back to whence it came, and then a little skid on the wet surface from Troisi. We're almost there, Australia. Mohamed Salam gets a throw. Al-Hamadi. Newcastle crowds rising as one to salute their team. That's offside against Ali Mabkout, who's had a very disappointing evening. Starved of service, really.
It was, and perhaps shouldn't have been, because they've had enough ball in the second half. But the central defence of Australia has been outstanding. Anything that's gone in behind them, Matt Ryan has been like a panther in pouncing on things. It's just the final execution. It's been sloppy in the second half from the Socceroos. Defended well, moved the ball with reasonable efficiency into the danger zone, but the decision-making and the final touch, indeed the positional play, from time to time with players drifting offside, has not been of their usual standard.
Lucky. Able to find Juric. Al-Hamadi goes between two defenders, meet in the sandwich, free kick. Omar Abdul Rahman. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching him at this tournament. As things stand, he and the UAE will be back here in Newcastle on Friday for the 3rd and 4th place playoff against Iraq. Luongo. Cut off the arm of Troisi, looked like it. Play goes on, Lecky. Nobody outside him at all. Well, I think that's what you call crude from Mohamed Ahmed.
They sort of got the ball. The referee says, yeah, but you had to throw the other player away first. Another really strong performance from Matt Lecky. The door was just slightly ajar there in defence of Mohamed Ahmed.
We see on the cross, so Juric had come short. Sainsbury. Troisi. He's trod on the ball there, I think, James Troisi. Desperation stuff now for the UAE. The last minute of normal time. Here's a chance, Ali Mabkout. What a tackle from Trent Sainsbury. Well, two moments at either end of the game and have epitomised his performance. A goal in the 3rd minute, and that challenge there, brilliant.
Well, he is something special, Trent Sainsbury. And during his days in the A-League, when we had the privilege of watching him on a weekly basis for the Mariners, that was bread and butter stuff for him. He's had a great game. So too his partner, Matt Spiranovic.
Almost run away from him. Now here's Lecky. What a goal would do for his confidence. Matthew Lecky. Great challenge from Mohamed Salam. Breaks for Mackay. Some tired bodies out there. We're into 3 minutes of added time. Mackay squares it up, not the best ball for Luongo. Just opened up for a moment there for Matthew Leckie. I think everybody's willing him to score. Clever from Luongo. Omar up from Rahman. Almost tied himself up in knots there. I think that's really what the UAE have been reduced to, because they're just, for all their ball possession, of which they've had a fair chunk in the second half and played some decent stuff, there's been precious little penetration in the final third.
Australia's central defence has just been too good, and everything they've tried has ended up in the cul-de-sac, which has been Sainsbury and Sporanovic. And it's been, well, 10 minutes now that hope seems to have evaporated from the UAE, and the crowd in Newcastle are rising to the occasion.
Preparing to party. Mohamed Ahmed will prevent the corner, but not the throw.
Just moments away now for this truly being Newcastle.
Or New Cahill, as one radio station nicknamed it today. They've really taken this competition and the Socceroos' arrival in their city for the first time in 20 years to heart and taking it on board. Sure, a fair few will be making their way down to Sydney for the final as well from this football-mad city of Newcastle. Under 60 seconds remaining. Those two early goals going to prove to be enough to take Australia through. Leckie. Breaks kindly for Troisi. Still full of running, of course, off the bench. Still going, James Troisi squares it across. Can't find Juric, and then his passes arise. He looked for Mackay. That might just be about that. A little flourish from James Troisi to finish off. And there we go. It's Australia's day. And in football terms, Australia Day did come a day late, but it's here as the Socceroos qualify for their second successive Asian Cup final. And Ange Postecoglou and his team, who endured the year from hell last year, are in something approaching football heaven. UAE's exciting run is over. Their turn may yet come in later years. But for now, it's all about Australia and South Korea in front of a packed house in Sydney on Sunday in the final. Early goals from Trent Sainsbury and Jason Davidson. Unlikely sources were more than enough for a brave UAE, who played well in the second half but just could not find a way through. Australia into the final again. They've defeated the UAE in the semi-final by 2-0. Andy Harper on balance. I don't think few would argue with the results, even though if the second half wasn't quite as fluid as the first.
So I think over the course of the 5 games, Australia have been the best presented team in the competition. And I think it's fitting that the toughest game in the competition should have a rematch in the final, Australia versus South Korea, from that final group stage match. Proven that that was the most difficult group to negotiate. The two heavyweights have qualified for the final. South Korea with, crucially, 24 hours extra rest. And the Socceroos maybe starting to show a little bit of tiredness towards the end of that second half, which could be understood. Maybe they were a little more lax because of the cushion of the 2 goals and the comfort with which, by and large, the central defence dealt with whatever UAE threw at them. But we got a special final in store. Australia's 2nd consecutive appearance. South Korea knocked out in the semi-final stage on penalties, this time 4 years ago. So they'll be looking to correct that wrong. And this is a re-engagement of Australia's longest rivalry in Asian football, that with South Korea. The 2 teams who have figured, along with Japan, most consistently at World Cup level, now go toe-to-toe for the Championship of Asia.
And interestingly, the first man down the tunnel as the Australians take the applause from their adoring fans. Ivan Franic is not among them. Now, you picked up on the fact that he might have just picked up a tweak of the groin. He's gone immediately down the tunnel to get some attention. Kale for Prime Minister, says the flag. Well, he didn't score today, but he had a big part to play in attracting the attention away from the others.
Well, there's no question. I mean, his performances go before him. Other teams are evidently too mono-focused on stopping Tim Cahill. He is such a threat in the penalty area, and Australia was able to profit from the extra space provided in the 2 instances. First goal for Trent Sainsbury, second goal for Jason Davidson. The attack for Australia wasn't as fluent and as efficient as we've come to expect, but the job's been done. This is a tough tournament to win in tough weather conditions, very humid around Australia, dry heat, humid heat. Well, there was some relief from that tonight here in Newcastle, very cool and wet and mild, but the damage is done physically, and it's a matter of who can repair themselves best on final day. South Korea have been bashed and bruised through their campaign. They've lost players with broken limbs. They've had a virus go through the camp. Somehow they've emerged through extra time matches to get to the final themselves, and they're full of spirit and full of strength and full of quality. And the Socceroos in the best shape of any team, I'd say, physically, but they'll have a day less to get ready for South Korea in what will be a packed stadium in Sydney, in what will be a fantastic final for the Asian Cup 2015.
Sure will. And of course the South Koreans do have an extra 24 hours to prepare for that final as well, which is probably one of the reasons why Ange Postecoglou brought off the likes of Tim Cahill, just to give him a bit of a breather. And just a word on the UAE, terrific tournament.
Yeah, so let's hope, along with China in the same discussion, let's hope this is the beginning of a very fruitful period for them. They've built well, the UAE, with young players coming through, a generation of them, the bulk of the team in the mid-20s, coached the whole time by Mahdi Ali, and there's real signs that they've got the hunger and the fight, the physicality, they've certainly got the technique. And if this coach can have his way with this team and continue to develop the mentality, and particularly for the UAE, Simon, as you've been highlighting, to get 3 or 4 of their players out of the Emirates and into Europe, or even Australia or Japan, where they can experience a life-changing culture, to develop their mentality and to get a bit stronger. That can certainly help the UAE, because this looks like a good team for the immediate future.
Well, Jason Davidson, the Socceroos are going to the final of the Asian Cup. How does that sound?
Yeah, it feels unbelievable, especially to do it on home soil. A great turnout tonight, and we're just happy that we got a clean sheet and we're into the final.
Well, you did it in pretty spectacular fashion. That start, I mean, after 15 minutes, how do you compose yourself after starting so well?
Yeah, well, that was the game plan, you know. We knew that UAE were going to be tired and they were going to give us a fight at the start. And the goal was to score as quickly as possible and get as many goals as we could. And I think it was a dream start for us. As the game went on, I think fatigue kicked in a little bit. But we worked hard and we kept a clean sheet. And, you know, all credit to the boys.
That goal for you, first time Socceroos, when that hit the back of the net, describe that feeling.
It was just a dream come true, you know. Since I was a young boy and left home when I was 14, my dream was always to play for the green and gold and to represent my country and to score a goal and help the team get to the Asian Cup final. It was just a dream come true.
Your thoughts at this moment on Korea? Didn't get the result a couple of weeks ago, but you played very well. Confident?
Yeah, we've always been confident in ourselves. So we just got to go into the next game now, concentrate about recovery. And like you said, we've played them once, so we know what they're all about. And you know, we got to turn up and do the business for the final.
Thanks, Jason. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Well, Australia's day 2-0 over the UAE, just a little bit too good, despite a second half flurry from Mahdi Ali's side. Really, Andy Harper, the damage was done very early on. 2 goals in the opening 14 minutes for Ange Postecoglou's team, and that was a long way back for the UAE from there.
Yeah, well, that's how history will record this. But even going into the game, Simon, this was a match with the way the opponents were pitted. Australia, if they could manage it, needed to score early and try and draw the UAE out, because we saw against Japan how resilient they can be defending a lead. And Postecoglou didn't want to have to be bashing down any doors here. He wanted to get away early, and he wanted the UAE to chase. And Australia got away early, and indeed the UAE did chase, and they gave a terrific account of themselves on that basis. It was a fabulously quick start by the Socceroos. This was their first entry into the penalty area. The corner delivered, and Trent Sainsbury scoring, and he's come close on previous occasions in this tournament. You can just see how, I don't know, just when a plan comes off and all the talk in the dressing room, let's get them early, and you get the chance, and the team does what they've set out to do. It's a real vindication of everything that's said, and all the backslapping, all the cajoling, all the planning and analysis, and when it comes off, it really gives a team a second wind and an ability to go and chase their opponents. Well, Australia sort of did that, but they were up against a young UAE team which is developing really well. They've had success at Olympic Games, not medal success, but in relative terms, real success in the last Olympic Games. They've done well in the golf competitions. He's brought this young crew of players now in their mid-20s, are very adept technically. They've got requisite athleticism. They just don't have in those moments the hunger, and that's that situation by Mohamed Abdul Rahman where he just didn't put the defensive work in that was required. Ivan Franjic got down the flank, and then the cross, the pass, the scramble, the deflection, and then the pass later from Masluongo put Jason Davidson in for the goal, and he finished it really nicely. Look at the attention that Timmy Cahill attracts. 3 of them to try and stop the great man from scoring, which, when you do the maths, left other players free. And one of those players was Jason Davidson, who called for the ball off Masluongo, managed to slide in and get the toe into it to make it 2-0. But the second half was a very impressive performance from the UAE. They got incredible speed. Ismail Al-Hamadi, who came off the bench, number 15, a little bit of a question mark why he didn't start the game, because the thought was his speed would always hurt Australia. And Ahmed Khalil, again impressive tonight, substituted late, probably out of tiredness, but was just magnificent. And then a little bit of a flashpoint, Majid Nasser in the goal for the UAE. I don't know if he had quite much to complain about here. Tim Cahill, you can see, all eyes on the ball. Look at the jump on Tim Cahill. And the referee decided that that was a free kick inside the 6-yard box, the goal area. Timmy Cahill, another early shower, prepare himself for what now is the final for the Socceroos. He's delivered on so many big platforms for the national team, and you can't imagine a bigger one than a home final in Sydney, backyard of Tim Cahill as he grew up. Masluongo again was dangerous. He put on the pass for Jason Davidson's goal, and he forced what was a save there by Majid Nasser, although the referee gave a goal kick. There was a similar incident for Matthew Leckie a little bit later. And as the field opened up, the Socceroos had chances, plenty of green space to attack, but they didn't have the efficiency, they didn't have the decision-making, and they didn't have the execution this evening to really ram home their advantage. But it's been a long and difficult campaign with 1 to go for the Socceroos. But with defending like this from Trent Sainsbury, they can feel comfortable that they're going to be very, very difficult to beat as a minimum. It's been a great period of this tournament for Trent Sainsbury to really mark himself as an international. He scored the goal, he saved the goal there in the end, and Ange Postecoglou's men through to the final on home soil.